Oh my gosh, you there you go, starting already. Hello there. Oh, see, the Wi-Fi is weak again.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to apologize in advance if there's issues with the Wi-Fi. I'm in the process of figuring out how to correct that. But anywho, welcome to another episode of Marriage Beyond the Breach. And we are blessed tonight. I have the Cookie Man with us. Hey, Cookie Man.
Hey, baby. 45 minutes, you said, right? 45 minutes?
Oh, Lord. He's always got me on a timer. Okay.
Got a bird.
Yeah. I get that. So, anywho, what we talking about tonight, baby?
I'll say part of it: honesty and transparency, and
contentment versus settling. And we're gonna get into all of it. But before we do, I would appreciate if anyone who's listening, and if you have not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, I would appreciate if you would subscribe to the channel. Hit that little notification button, little bell. It's a little notification bell.
Okay.
And that way, when we have upcoming episodes, you'll get notified. So, anywho, we're going to be talking about, first we're going to talk about honesty versus transparency. So my question is this, and it's just the two of us. So we're going to be just bouncing questions off each other. And we're gonna see what the Cookie Man has to say. All right.
Hey.
So, from your perspective, is there a difference between honesty and transparency, or are they two sides of the same coin? What do you think?
That's that kind of question. I'm gonna describe it as being like clay. You can kind of mold it to fit your agenda, so to speak. But as I said before, if you're being completely honest, then there's nothing that needs to be transparent, because you would think it would just come with the territory.
Yeah.
But as I think back to some situations through our life, as the way I looked at it, I was being as honest as I guess I wanted to be.
Exactly. We're gonna get into that.
Leave that? Okay.
We're gonna definitely get into that. But see, you have answered it one way,
right?
And then when you continue talking, you answered it another way, because there really is a difference between honesty and transparency.
I thought I said that.
No, you said it's pretty much the same. You said, because if you're really being honest, what's left?
Right.
Well, there's a lot left, because with honesty, I can ask you something, and you can give me an honest answer. However, transparency is, I don't have to ask. You are forthcoming with information, because here's the thing. And hold up, wait a minute.
How can I be transparent to something that I don't know you need me to be transparent for?
Therein lies the rub.
So the question needs to be asked.
No, because with real transparency, I don't need to ask you, because there is a constant, ongoing sharing of information. You're not trying to figure out, well, what do I need to tell her? What do I need to tell him? What does she need to know? What does he need to know? You are not having that conversation with yourself. You're just being forthcoming with information.
Yeah, but
that is real transparency.
But everything doesn't have to be told. For instance, I leave the gym.
Yeah.
I stop at 2 stores.
Yeah.
I don't feel the need to come in and say that. Now, you might ask me, hey, babe, usually you get home at certain time. Oh, you know what, honey? I stop at these 2 stores.
That is a perfect example. Hey, Tyrone. Hey, Pastor Tyrone. Good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Okay.
So listen, that is a perfect example. Because honesty is, okay, you said you were going to the gym.
Right.
And you went to the gym.
Right.
Now, you stopped at some stores before you came home.
Okay.
And did not communicate that.
Right.
Hold on. Okay.
Because I still sometimes, because I still have issues from that from time to time. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But here's the difference. You were being honest, because you did go where you said you were going, but you made other stops before you came home. Hold on.
Right.
just hear me out. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, you were being honest. Transparency says you come home and say, hey, babe, I know you were expecting me home by 11 o'clock, but I stopped at the Piggly Wiggly and I went by JC Penney. So that's why I'm getting home at this time as opposed to the time you were expecting me. That is transparency, babe.
But see, I'm not necessarily disagreeing.
Yes, you is.
But I guess I am, because for you feel that when I come in the door, I should say all my stops. I don't always agree.
Okay.
If I tell you I went to the gym, being honest, if you happen to ask me, you expected me a little early or whatever, and then I say where else I went,
yeah,
great. But I don't
that's
think
fine. But here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
What does each spouse want or need from the other? That's the question. Are you okay with just honesty at that level? Or do you want more transparency? And transparency lends itself to a greater level of intimacy and greater trust.
Well, you
at least from my perspective. Go ahead, answer the question.
For me, if you tell me you went to A, and fine, okay. And then if I happen to add something and you're transparent with other information, fine. Yeah. But for me, I don't feel the need to always, well, hey, baby, say you're going to the store, you're going to see your sister. Yeah. But I feel you're, in my opinion, maybe a little later than I thought. Yeah. Was it traffic or something like that? If I ask, okay. But for me, I don't feel the need to always ask.
But that's you.
See, and because of that, I don't feel the need to always be asked.
But see, that is when a couple such as us,
right,
we have to have a conversation. We got to figure out what this is going to look like. Do our
hold on. Give a perfect example of what we're talking about.
Go ahead.
I get off work, and how did it go down? I think I was supposed to go.
Oh, see, you fixing a not telling the whole
pick up a order from the store, whatever the case it was. But because I didn't call you and say I was going there first.
You don't even remember the whole thing. You don't even remember. You ain't even telling the story. You're not telling the story right.
Do you remember it?
No, but I know you. I know you ain't telling it right.
Listen, the point is,
you can't even get it right.
We had a big debate because I didn't call until. Oh, I know what it was. I didn't call until I got to the location because I normally get home at a certain time.
Right.
Hey, babe, you're not where you at? No, I got to the gym. I got to the store. I was gonna wait for the groceries, and I was gonna call you once I got there. This one over here, my lovely wife, we had a conversation. Well,
I don't remember
in terms of being you felt I should have called you either on the way to the stop to wait for the groceries, or at some point while I was there, or at some point whenever I made up my mind that I was going to leave work and go wait for the pickup, I should have communicated. To me, I saw no different than leaving work, getting to the location, and then making the call.
But see, you got off work, you went to the gym, you made a few other stops, and then you went over there. And from what you said, your intention was to call me when you got to that last location.
Correct.
And what I said to you is, when you made the decision to go to that other location, that is the time to call and say, hey, babe, I know I went to the gym, I did blah, 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 but here I'm going to go over yonder.
I don't know if there's any other stops in between, but either way, that was a conversation we had.
And what happened?
I guess for peacefulness, I kind of acquiesce and say, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. And even right now, I'm going to be honest, I don't necessarily agree. I understand, and I'm willing to, if that happened again, consider the conversation and maybe make the call because it's no big deal. But I'm not going to say like this. I won't do. I'm not going to say when I make the decision while I'm at work, I'm going to think to call you because I'm busy. Now maybe when I get in the car.
Yeah.
All right.
Because you got a phone. See, we have cell phones now. And see, here's the thing. I don't think, and I agree with you, it's not necessary or needed or expected all of the time. However, I prefer transparency. I definitely prefer transparency. Honesty is great, but for me, Transparency is better, and it leads to greater connection and greater trust,
Mm-hmm.
especially depending upon the history of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That I think has a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
The history of the relationship, as well as what each partner may want, need,
Mm-hmm.
expect, or request. And Pastor Tyrone said you must know your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We've got to know our spouse. I do know him. That's why I wanted behind the call, because I know him.
Wait a minute. I don't know if that sounds. I don't know if that sounds good. But again, I can acquiesce.
Yeah.
I do know that.
Right.
So sometimes I say I'll put my own feelings aside, my disagreements. Say, you know what? I know how she's gonna feel about something. You know, so our glasses don't get all foggy and whatnot. Let me just do whatever it is that she requires, needs, or expects.
You sound like some sort of taskmaster, which I am not entirely.
Let's see. I don't have no strands left. So
oh my Lord. John said, let me see what my baby boy said. He said, if you're not transparent, that is not volunteering information, your spouse might become suspicious and think you're hiding something for a reason.
Yeah.
That is very good. That is a great point, son.
It is.
Because I don't think a spouse, at least from my perspective, and I'm not saying that I'm right, I'm just saying this is my thought about it. A spouse should not be put in a position of having to guess or fill in the blanks, or let's say I got to wait for the information, or I have to ask specific questions. Because see, that was an issue early in our relationship, in the early part and the middle part. If I didn't ask the right question in exactly the right way, I was not going to get the whole truth.
Hold on.
You know,
no.
Because that was a phase in our marriage, because we both played that game.
But how many times, even to this day,
what?
You say, Frank, if you want the question answered, ask it the right way. Because I'll ask something, you'll answer, but it's not the answer that I want.
You're looking for.
And you will say, well, Frank, you got to ask for what you want. So,
But that's different. That's different altogether, because you are when you are looking for a specific answer, but you ask a question that does not get you that answer, but get you a different answer. That's what I'm referring to in that regard.
Then I got to ask it again, and maybe again, and again.
But
I'll you get mad. Okay, go ahead.
Different.
I'm just messing with you at this point. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's something different. Let's see. Hold on. There was some comments here.
But I still say sometimes you have to ask, because I don't know.
Pastor Tyrone said if he's going somewhere, he's going to let his wife know, because she worries about him, and he doesn't want her to think anything happened. There you go. Boom shakalaka.
Yeah, but see, she's worried that he might not be safe.
Oh, I'm worried too. I'm worried too. We might not be worried about the same thing, but we worried. But in all honesty, though, that is not a concern of mine like it was 10 or 15 years ago, when there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. That's not a concern of mine, but I absolutely do prefer transparency.
Yeah, what we've worked out when either one of us is going, not necessarily somewhere local, out somewhere. I'm going to Brooklyn. She's hanging with her sister. What we worked for ourselves is when you get to your destination, and more times, when not what you're running around doing, but when you're on your way back. Now, only one person, for the most part, is following that rule.
Agreement. It's not a rule.
Okay, agreement.
We made.
Okay. We made a rule and we agreed to it. However you want to phrase it. But only one person follows it religiously.
That's you, babe.
Right.
That's you.
So what happens?
I have to be honest. You do it. You do it a lot more than I do. Okay. A lot more than I do. Because typically especially when I'm going to see my sister, once we connect, I'm sorry, baby.
Oh, you don't think about? Well, I'm going to hang with my boy Gary. You want to play ball or something? I do, because I call you.
You do call. As soon as I land,
hey, babe, I'm here.
That's true.
All right.
And I have committed to getting better with that. So sometimes I will tell my sister, I'll say, Jackie, remind me when I get there to call my husband. Or sometimes she'll say, Val, you're getting ready to leave. Call Frank. Yeah, because I do
Yeah,
sometimes
but you have to work
forget
these things out
to
amongst
do
each
that.
other.
So his what General said, that it is a situational analysis.
Right. Each
He said
situation.
sometimes
That's right. I
transparency
like
is
that.
needed, other times it's not a big deal. I agree with that. I
Mm-hmm.
agree with that.
Okay.
Ms. D says, "Hey, Ms. D, thank you for watching. Transparency is best. I shouldn't have to hear information from others. I should have been told by you." Absolutely.
Yeah.
You should never hear
Right.
information about your spouse secondhand or third hand or fourth
That
hand.
part I agree.
Your
Yeah.
spouse should always be forthcoming with information, and that's why I think transparency
Mm-hmm.
is the best. So have either of us, have we ever told the truth but still felt like we were hiding something? The short answer is
Yeah.
yes. We both have been
Because
guilty of that.
the way to look at it is, I told the truth I wanted to tell,
You
and
told the truth you wanted to
but
tell.
you knew
There was
you
more.
left something out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and the something doesn't have to be a problem for the relationship. Sometimes people might feel they're leaving something out to protect the other person, but
Like
that's
what?
not their choice to make.
Like what?
I don't know, something that they're maybe if they knew it would make them hurt. I'm not sure. That doesn't apply
no,
nowhere.
well, I'm not saying that it doesn't apply because I know that people do that. I don't agree with that.
I got that. I'm sorry.
Here,
I'm sorry. I'll go back. You asked me a question. I know.
Me
You asked me like what? Let's say you put on something.
Yeah.
And I don't. You asked me how it look.
I want you to tell me the truth. I don't want to go. I'm looking like boo boo the fool.
You're not looking like boo boo the
fool. I want you to tell me the truth.
But see, sometimes over our life, there might have been a time where I felt I didn't like it, but I was concerned if I told you that, it hurt your feelings. So I kept something from you. And you just now telling me. Well, that's the only example I can come up with.
Just now telling me this.
Well, I'll make sure if you have something on, I'll tell you if I don't like it.
Oh my goodness. No, tell me.
Okay.
Because if I ask you, hey babe, how does this look? Well, what do you think about what I have on? Tell me the truth.
But as a question back before, said know your spouse. And see, I know if I tell you that now, you're gonna stress out. Oh, excuse me, honey, I've seen it. Even when I don't say something, you going crazy. Anyway, I think you're gonna stress out.
Okay,
you're gonna be sweating and now rushing and think nothing looks nice. That's my opinion.
Okay,
that's why I might not.
Let me tell you how I really feel.
Okay.
Now, do I rush around sometimes? That's because we are almost ready to go, and I ask you, if you were to say, well, that don't look so good, I'd rather you wear something else.
Right.
Now I'm going to go and I'm going to change.
You're not going to feel stressed or uncomfortable.
Only because you're rushing me. If you don't rush me, I'm not stressing.
No, I know you. I've felt the wow.
No, because here's the thing. You are the one who's going to be looking at me while I'm out. I'm not looking at myself. So it matters to me how you feel about how I look when we go out. Because see, I have no problem telling you how something looks.
I know, but see, honey, you know, emotionally, I'm going to handle it. I think I'm going to handle that better than you would.
You're trying to sound like I'm fragile.
No, I didn't say you were fragile. That's not.
But I can handle.
Okay,
like a few big men. I can handle the truth.
You don't want to know the truth, or whatever he said.
You
can't handle the truth. But anyway, all right, moving on. Okay.
I want to know if I'm looking crazy, or sometimes, because I have a pretty large wig collection. There's some wigs.
I'll tell you about the goddamn wigs. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me.
So, he done lost his whole mind.
I'll tell you about the wigs.
You tell me about the wigs.
Yeah.
So why? Now listen to this. Help me understand. You telling me about the wig, but you won't tell me about the outfit.
And actually, I haven't always told you about a wig. I might have said, "Okay, it looks nice," but I didn't really. It didn't really. I didn't really like it.
So you lied. That's a lie. A half truth is a whole lie.
All right, I was thinking about protecting.
Protecting.
If I'm protecting you from your feelings or something, I ain't lying.
Oh my goodness, Frank. I don't. Let's just get this straight now. I do not want to be protected from that. I want you to tell me the truth.
Got it.
Jackie said, "Hey sis." Oh, I gotta move the comments down.
John said we sound like some lawyers.
I know. Hey sis. She said, "Sorry, Frankie."
Oh.
Hey Nicole. Good to see you. Thank you so much for watching. Pastor Tyrone said, Uncle Frank, I know for me, if my wife wears an outfit that I don't like, hold on, let me put his comment up. I don't think it's appropriate. As we go to church, I'll let her know, and then she sees it from my point of view, and she'll change it. You got to communicate. You also got to be transparent. There's been times where she's getting off work and it's traffic that she called me.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I absolutely agree. Because if your woman, your wife, your partner is asking for your opinion, how does this look? How do you like what I have on? Do you like it? How does it look? They're asking for your opinion. Now, it's one thing to just walk behind them and say, that's toe up. Take that off. That don't look right.
Why not? I'm being honest.
But you're not being kind.
Oh, God.
You can be honest and kind.
Understood. Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
So, yeah, I definitely want you to tell me. So, yeah.
The traffic thing, I have no problem. I'm stuck in traffic. Hey, babe, I'm stuck in traffic. Yeah. But again, like I said, I still think I'm going to struggle if I'm going from one point and maybe stop twice on the way home.
Yeah.
No, actually, being honest, I'm not going to always call you. I'm leaving work. I go get my papers. Damn, I got to stop and get some Val wanted from the hardware store.
Oh, now you're going to say something I want just to make it sound better.
I'm not going to always think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm struggling when I heard in my head. I said think.
You're hearing yourself. I hear myself
because I'm thinking, should I? But I'm fighting a part of me. Damn, I call all the time.
But see, I knew that's that part.
Okay.
That's the part, baby.
Okay, I felt that for a minute.
You gotta kill it. You have got to kill it at the root, because see, that's and this is just my perspective. That's the old you. Struggling with the behavior that you know to be right as the new you. And that's a struggle. Okay. And I respect that. And I respect your honesty right here. Yeah. But that is an internal battle. And I get that we go through sometimes as we grow and we evolve, because that old you, that absolutely was your attitude. I ain't got to call her. I ain't got to tell her this. I ain't got to tell her that. But that's the old you. You have said to me yourself, Val, I am not that Frank that I used to be.
The other day I said, I ain't that
Just
guy.
The other day you said, I am no longer that guy. So don't be that guy.
Yeah, but okay. But
be the new and improved guy.
Even the new and improved people have struggles.
I
did.
You're absolutely
right. For that moment, I recognized it. Okay, we'll see what happens the next time.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna keep y'all posted. Y'all know I'm gonna tell y'all, right?
What I'll say is, hey, Val, I'm sorry. I want to get you something.
You better come home with it, too.
I know, right?
You better come home with it. So let's ask the question. Can a spouse, a partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, can you be transparent and not be honest?
Yeah, well, yeah. I can, because I thought of some situational things.
Oh yeah.
I can have what I consider transparency, but that's all you can see. There's some dishonest because maybe it's some other things I've hidden somewhere.
Exactly. That is exactly how you could be transparent but not be honest. Let's say I tell you my schedule for the day, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm going here, I'm going there. I am being transparent. I am revealing my schedule to you, but I am omitting one crucial fact, that on that schedule, I'm going to be meeting up. I'm meeting up with JoJo. Right. JoJo going to lunch. Now, I've been transparent. I've told you my schedule, but I ain't telling you about JoJo. So I've been transparent, but I have not been honest. So there is a way to be both. You could be honest without being transparent, and you can also be transparent without being completely honest. Businesses do it all the time. When they reveal their financial statements, they reveal that they could give in their financial information, but they may omit certain factors. So they're being transparent in a sense, but they're not being completely honest. And we see that now with
you have a company producing this so-called drug that's showing all the good things that it does, but they're not showing you the reports of people dying and all the call it, side effects and whatnot.
Exactly. Hey Nene, thank you for watching, baby. So do honesty and transparency, is it a factor in, with us as an example, our ability to trust the intentions of the other?
Yes.
And not just the words, but also
Yes,
the intention.
until a conversation is had, I think. Because say it again, because I lost my train of thought.
Can honesty and transparency, does it impact our ability to trust the intention of the other?
I believe so, because to understand my intention, we have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why I said when you have these conversations, one can understand the intent. Because sometimes we're going to react on past stuff that didn't happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to understanding why I did so, and so yes,
I absolutely agree. And there's something that I say to the couples that I counsel very often, because there's two parts to the communication process. There's intent and there's impact. Okay, we may experience a particular impact that does not in any way, shape, or form line up with our partner's intent in whatever they may have said. So unless and until there are two ways to do this. We can assume a positive intent, even if we experience a negative impact. Or we can express to our partner, and then we can talk about it. And our partner can say, no, I'm sorry, babe. I'm sorry that you experienced this that way. That was not my intention. My intention was blah, blah, blah. But sometimes we can't get there because we act on experiencing the negative impact and assuming a negative intent, and now it's off to the races.
Yeah, because it's hard to assume something positive when you're hurt.
Yes, but it's healthier to do that.
It's healthier not to assume anything, maybe.
Well, if you are going to assume the best of your partner as opposed to the worst of your partner. Because when we assume the worst of our partner, because it starts here, then it's a feeling, and now it's behavior.
Yeah, you're all over the place.
And we're all over the place. And it's so much easier to avoid going down that rabbit hole than the two of you trying to pull one of you out of there. What are your thoughts on that?
I would agree. And there have been many times when the weight of trying to wrong an assumption is challenging.
Yeah.
But that's why I said that communication, even when one is hurt or impacted away,
yes.
You gotta
no,
talk.
I'm just saying communication.
Sometimes you don't like it. Even with that conversation, it might be, for lack of a better term, some battles going on until each person, or maybe even one person, say, you know what, let's bring it down. Let's calm down. Let's continue to talk. Don't walk away, or maybe you might need to walk away, but let's talk.
Well, if you're going to walk away from a conversation, there's a way to do it. Do it the right way.
Right, sure.
Don't just get your hips on your shoulders and just turn around and give your partner your back, because that's not a good way to pause or table a conversation. You have to say something.
That's all well and good, and we strive for that.
Yeah.
But we are flesh and blood, and we act like we act.
On the deck.
And so even when that happens, be able to recognize it later on and say, hey, you know what? I apologize for the way I walked away. I got caught up in my emotions. But I want to continue what we were talking about.
Okay. And I may or may not accept the apology.
Well, I can't help that. Long as you know my intent at that point was to apologize. What you do with it
it's
at that
on
point,
me.
if you don't want to talk until 2 days later after I apologize, okay. I'll be here when you're ready.
Yeah. I won't. I mean, I won't do that because me, I like to talk. And I like clarity. I like clarity so much. I would rather overshare and have clarity than to undershare and things are ambiguous or lead to misunderstanding. And that's a challenge for us, because you are kind of like the Joe Friday, just the facts, ma'am, and you just want to boom, boom, boom for me to say a couple of things and just move on. And I want to try to give you as much information as I possibly can, so that hopefully we can avoid having a misunderstanding down the line.
I'm chuckling because I feel when I'm trying to clarify, what I get back is, get to the point. I said, well, I'm trying to clarify. Just keep, listen, that hasn't happened? Will you feel I'm taking too long to clarify? Oh,
What,
yeah.
that you're clarifying something
Right,
to me?
I'm trying to explain it the best way I can. And you feel like, listen, Frank, just get to the point.
Oh, yeah. That
So
has
what
happened.
what happened to clarification?
Oh,
If
honey,
it takes me 10 minutes to get there.
I am so sorry, but I got in my emotions.
Yeah, all
Isn't
right.
that what you just said a
Yeah.
few minutes ago? Yes. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens to every couple, I
Sure.
believe, at
Yeah,
some
at
point
some
in
point or
time.
another, for something.
Because we are human. We are not perfect. We are not intend to be. Oh, I'm hot.
All right,
My
go
glass
ahead.
is fogging. I gotta
Mhm.
turn this fan on.
All
We're
right,
not.
well, just take
We're
your
not
glasses
meant.
off.
We're not meant to
Mhm,
be
mhm.
perfect.
Right.
That's not a standard that even God Himself holds us to. Because we can't be perfect because we are human
Mhm.
and we have human frailties
Okay.
and we're going to make mistakes
Mhm.
and there are going to be errors in our communications and the ways in which we handle one another.
Mhm.
But then the question becomes, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to stay mad? Are we going to allow it to
Fester and whatnot.
to interrupt our emotional connection? Or are we going to be, put our big girl panties and big boy drawers on and just sit and talk about it so that we can maintain that emotional connection? Because I think that's too important to let go.
Here I am spieling about
Spiel.
spieling
It's a spiel
about communication, right?
Yeah.
But then there are those times when I do get my butt on my shoulder.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want to talk. I just I get stubborn and don't want to hear it, and I'm acting like whatever. I'm in my emotions.
You're in your emotions.
But
yeah.
Then it's had that couple of seconds where I see, what, Lord have mercy. Okay. We need to talk. Again, we're back to communications and talking and stuff like that. But afford each other that opportunity, even if it's for a couple of minutes, to maybe shut down. Maybe they don't even say I don't want to talk. You just shut down.
Yeah,
but you don't let it linger.
Here's the thing, and I strongly disagree with just shutting down without notification. You owe your partner that. You owe it to me. I owe it to you. When I'm ready, if I don't want to talk about something anymore, I owe it to you to say, hey, babe, I can't have this conversation right now. We need to table it. We can talk about it later.
So the delivery, how I give you that information don't matter.
Oh, it matters.
Why? Why can't I just say I don't want to talk no effing more?
No, that's not kind. That's not right.
I'm mad.
No, but that's not right.
Let me have that. I might come back and apologize.
No, because let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
When you're mad, do you still love me?
Yeah.
When you're mad, do you still want to be my protector? Just yes or no.
That ain't got nothing to do with it.
Just yes or no.
Yeah, sure, of course.
So part of being my protector is protecting my heart. Okay? So even when you're angry, don't say, well, I don't want to talk about it no effing more, screw this, screw that. Say, you know what, Val? Even if you just say, I can't handle this conversation right now, we'll talk about it later. I know that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
He
said, even when I'm angry,
delivery matters. Yeah.
Even when she said, even when you're angry, I'm supposed to protect the heart. Are you supposed to protect mine? Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, how the hell did I get angry? Why am I angry? You hurt my heart.
No, hold on. You are angry because that is the response you chose to whatever was going on between us. If I get angry, that's the response that I'm choosing.
Not because of something I did to hurt you.
That's a response that I'm choosing because I can have a different response.
Okay.
I don't have to get angry.
I won't say it. I'm gonna say it one more time. Not because I hurt you.
Right.
The response is anger.
Right.
As opposed to sadness or something else. But it's because of something I did. And I'm supposed to protect you. I probably shouldn't have hurt you or caused you sadness.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
And here's why. Listen, let me just read something.
Okay.
I was just reading this a few moments ago. And I do agree with this. This is from Dr. Tony Evans in the book entitled Kingdom Marriage. And one of the things he says is, Marriage comes with pain.
Okay.
To
End of
ignore,
story.
hold
But I
on,
gotta keep reading.
to ignore that reality or to dismiss it will only make the wounds fester and grow. You cannot be in a relationship with someone, a husband and wife, living under the same roof, and never hurt one another. That's not going to happen. That is an unrealistic expectation. So
put
yes.
to them knowing that, because you're going to do something that pisses the other person. The toilet seats up.
But that don't hurt my feelings.
Well, it makes you mad. Makes you angry.
That doesn't make me angry.
Well, then leave me alone if I leave it up.
Because it's just frustrating, because I don't like the way it looks. It just looks nasty.
So it wasn't anger that you chose. Your feelings wasn't hurt.
My feelings
are not
hurt.
What you chose was frustration.
Absolutely.
Okay. But anyway. Yeah. All right. But anyway, I got it. You're right. Being in any kind of relationship, long term or especially long term, there's going to be some kind of rift that you cause the other person to go through.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable. And sometimes I think couples have an unrealistic expectation that neither one will ever do anything to hurt the other, and then when they experience it, they are completely thrown off kilter and discombobulated, and sometimes ready to end the marriage. Because that's an unrealistic.
Of course, no one goes into the marriage thinking I'm going to cause my partner, my spouse.
But you should go in. You should, because that is realistic. You are going to hurt your partner. Your partner is going to hurt you.
Yeah, but sitting here now, it's easy to say you should go in thinking that, but
I know most people don't, because you're blinded by love, sex, or money.
Right, because I'm going to say
one of the three.
Based on that fear, when we was getting married, I was supposed to probably, based on the conversation, say to myself, I'll never have an affair. Or should I say I might have one?
No, that's different. Affair ain't got nothing. That's something else altogether. No. That is not realistic to expect your partner to have an affair.
Okay.
That is not a realistic.
But I guess I was tying that together because of the pain and stuff it caused.
No, babe. You're off track.
I'm off track? Okay.
You're off track on that.
Let me
bring it back. Reel that one all the way back in. Okay. That is not.
So when you're talking,
let me just say
okay, help me out.
It is not realistic to anticipate that either your partner is going to have an affair or you are going to have an affair. There are so many ways that partners hurt each other that have nothing to do with infidelity.
Okay.
Have nothing to do with infidelity. But to think that you're never going to be hurt by your partner, from my perspective, is an unrealistic expectation.
Okay. The bottom line,
have that in the back of your mind.
Expect and believe there'll be some hurt. What that hurt looks like, no one knows.
But then believe that we can get beyond it.
Well, yeah. You can believe that you can get beyond it. The thing is, it might take some time to get beyond. It's going to take some time.
Depending upon what it is.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, of course. It may take some time, but have an agreement that we know that some sort of hurt is inevitable, but we are also agreeing that we are going to get beyond it. Okay? So we've talked about honesty versus transparency. And so when someone is transparent, they're making themselves more vulnerable, making themselves more visible, both emotionally and intellectually. They're naked. So yeah, that's what I like about transparency. So now let's talk about this contentment versus settling. So how do you know when you are truly content in a relationship and not just afraid to want more? So what is the difference between contentment and settling?
I'm sorry.
What?
When I said, how do you know when you are truly content in a relationship? Well, I know I'm content in this relationship when I can sit back.
Oh Lord, there we go. That's
cupping like who was that? Who was that character?
Al Bundy.
Al Bundy with the shirt hanging out. You know, maybe I ain't brushed my teeth. I am content and very comfortable in that relationship. Now that might not be the answer you're looking for, but that was for me. I'm
You're
very content. Yes.
Yeah. So what does it mean to be content? Contentment is satisfaction and happiness with what we have, while settling is accepting less than what we truly desire or deserve. Okay, you're thinking about that.
Yeah, because you can desire something.
Yes.
Do desires always come through?
No,
Does that make you less content?
it could, depending upon what it is.
Mm.
Okay, because settling, you are accepting less. Let's remove desire.
Okay.
No, I'm going to leave desire in there, because when I'm thinking of desire, I'm thinking of each partner having emotional needs.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are in a relationship, let's say, and your emotional needs, whatever needs you may have, are not being met,
Okay.
but you don't say anything about it,
Right. Right.
you, that can fall under the category of settling. Or there's certain things you feel that you are deserving of or worthy of, and you're not getting it. And that could be seen as settling,
Settling.
especially if you don't say anything.
Well, if you
You
don't
got to say
say
something.
anything, then that settling is on you. You can't,
Oh, I agree.
for lack of a better term, blame your partner or be upset with your partner if you don't speak on it.
You absolutely right.
Now I can get, because again, when you say something about something and your partner doesn't hear you, doesn't respond in what you might feel is a timely fashion, or is not consistent, I could see that causing some pain and discomfort.
So I want to think about what the emotional cost might be when we say, okay, we just want peace, but it's not really peace. It is kind of a passive acceptance of what's going on.
With that, I think there's a continuing battle, emotionally, spiritually.
Right.
Your house is not on solid footing. You come in, you maybe even a little nervous to walk in because you don't want to face conversations or whatever. So when you're just what's the thing was it once again? When you just have peace. Right? You're just trying to be peaceful. No. Sometimes you gotta upset that and talk about things.
I absolutely
keep going back to talk.
But there are times when, because I do believe in sometimes you have to choose your battles.
Right. Yeah.
And use some wisdom in that. But if there is a pattern of not speaking up, not giving voice to your needs, not communicating to your partner things that concern you, things that bother you, that hurt you, that you would like to see done differently, when that's a pattern, to me that's an issue.
Okay.
When there's that pattern is there, where you just don't say anything because I want to keep the peace.
Well, unfortunately, sometimes that person is not saying anything because they're afraid of the repercussion if they speak, or maybe they're in an abusive relationship.
Absolutely.
If you speak on things, you're going to catch hell. So to keep the peace, as you put it, you know what? I'm not going to say anything.
But then you have to ask yourself, what matters more, peace or safety?
Well, that's true. Well,
peace or safety? Now, I understand that people, men and women who are in abusive relationships, do things to keep the peace and walk on eggshells around their partner. They don't want to upset the apple cart. They don't want them to get angry. They don't want to be hurt either physically or emotionally or in some other way. But then, like I said, you got to ask the question, what matters more, the peace or safety? And only the person who was in that situation can make that decision for themselves. Typically, when they get to a point where they're either hurt so badly physically and really, 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 really seriously injured, their children are in jeopardy, or they have just had enough. At that point, they might make a different decision. And now when we're talking about contentment versus settling, we also have to ask ourselves, are we holding on because it's right or because it's familiar and comfortable?
I think more people hold on because of the comfort aspect of it. Yeah. What's the question? I ain't got my glasses on.
Are we holding on because it's right or because it's familiar and comfortable?
I'm going to go down the middle. Some people hang on and fight for it because they know it's right. Other people hold on because they're afraid of change. It's comfort. I know this. This is comfort.
Right.
I don't have to worry about so-and-so if I move away from this, I got to start all over again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what's out there. So.
Yeah, Mama used to always say, sometimes you're better off with the devil you know than the demon you don't. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that may be true.
Mm.
But then there are other times when you need to get away from the devil and the demon because they are equally damaging
Mm-hmm.
physically,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, financially, spiritually, or otherwise. So, yeah. And when it comes to contentment versus settling, those are questions, like I said, we have to really ask ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and be honest with ourselves about what it is we're doing and why we're doing it. And I would say that emotional health plays a significant role in determining whether we are content or settling. When we are emotionally healthy, we have a positive outlook on life and we can appreciate and enjoy the things we have. We feel grateful and content with our lives and we don't feel the need to constantly strive for more. However, on the other hand, when we are not emotionally healthy, we may settle for less than what we want or deserve. And sometimes this could be due to a lack of self worth. It could be due to fear of failure or belief that we don't deserve better. Sometimes people, and my experience is, I see this more in women than I do in men. This feeling of, well, I don't deserve better, or I can't get any better. This is the best I can get. This dude that's not doing anything for me emotionally, spiritually, financially, or otherwise. I can't do any better.
Like I said, dude, why couldn't it be the job?
What?
You said she can't do any better than this dude. Why can't
this dude? Right.
I'm saying, why you gotta blame it on the dude? Why couldn't you say she can't do anything better than a job and get another job?
Well, yeah,
but I know
you could settle.
Again,
you could settle
sure.
with employment as well as
Right.
in relationships. Well, we're talking about relationships here,
okay.
And I see women more often than men have that internal feeling of not being good enough, and this is the best that I can do. And unfortunately, some men play on that. Some men actually will say to the woman, yeah, you ain't gonna get nobody better. This is the best you can do. You can't do nobody. Who's gonna want you?
That comes from an inner battle of insecurities.
Yeah, that's what I call the Mr. syndrome. Because remember in The Color Purple, when Celie finally had the wherewithal to finally leave him, where you going? Ain't nobody gonna want you. You're black, you're ugly, you're skinny. Ain't nobody gonna want you. That's the Mr. syndrome. And some men say that to the woman. You're fat, you're ugly, you got 5 kids, that's the Mr. syndrome. And sometimes, see, Celie at that point, before she believed it, at that point, she had the emotional strength and bandwidth to make a decision to choose herself over the life with him. But sometimes women remain in that situation because they believe the lie that they are told and think that, wow, maybe he's right. Maybe I can't do any better than this guy who is 50 years old and living in his mother's basement and on unemployment. And he's a convicted felon and he's never held down a job. But he loves me, but I love him.
I think that lie comes in probably more times than not before she's met that Mr. guy. She's already been hearing those things about herself as a child, maybe.
It's possible. Absolutely. Yeah. Because, and I think you're right, because I think it's difficult to convince a woman of her lack of worth if she did not already internally believe that about herself. And typically when we believe that about ourselves, it started in our families of origin when we were children and we were told that we were not good enough, we weren't pretty enough. Oh, you're stupid, you're lazy, you're fat, you're this, and you're all that. And that real plays in your head. I mean, I experienced it when I was a kid.
Whether it's your family or even what you deal with in school.
And your bully.
Your peers, yes.
Yeah. when you're bullied. But I absolutely heard all that kind of stuff when I was a kid. And it did have an impact on my self-esteem. It did have an impact on my self-worth. And for like years, I did really believe that about myself. So yeah, it absolutely can happen. Okay, I think I addressed that already. And let's think about looking at contentment from a biblical perspective. As Christians, I mean, because even in the Bible, in Philippians chapter 4, the Apostle Paul says, "Not that I speak from want, for I have learned to be content in whatever circumstance I am. I know how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things, I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." And that last part right there sometimes is misused, misquoted. But Paul is essentially saying, listen, I'm going to put it in today's vernacular. I've been broke and I was okay. I've had money and I've also been okay. My contentment is not based on whether I'm broke or whether I have money, because I've learned how to be content in both circumstances. So there is a place for contentment within our lives. But again, we have to have a conversation with ourselves. Is it contentment? I'm looking at the time.
No, that's not why I gave you the eye. It's almost, but I had a question. What do you do when you have a spouse who is content
with
whatever the situation he's in? Now, you know what?
What does that mean?
Well, actually, as I'm saying, I said that can't work, because if we're in a marriage and I'm content with being broke, that can cause a problem. I need to be out there working.
Especially if we can't pay the bill.
Right. So, okay, that doesn't, but I'm just content with here's a perfect example.
Okay.
Not furthering my education, not reading more, things like that. Is it, I don't say wrong, but shouldn't, still saying things, you're talking about should. Could a spouse find a way to understand that and not want to change that person?
Yes. I think change is the objective when we are communicating certain things to our spouse. Growth, okay. Yes. Because one of the things I have written down, contentment is not an excuse not to grow or mature. It's not an excuse to not grow or mature. So yeah, okay, you don't like to read, you don't want to go to school, that's fine. But then it begs the question, what is being done to facilitate growth personally, professionally, emotionally, spiritually, financially? What is being done to facilitate that? There has to be something. You can't just sit on a lump with your legs crossed and your arms folded and expect to grow.
Well, again, I made those comments based on myself. I'm not into reading like you.
Right.
I was happy going to some college and whatever else. But I know growth has come, because there was a point where I didn't want to talk if we had a disagreement.
Right.
So growth in this situation has come from, again, falling back on conversation, coming to the realization that it can't always be about you. But again, what helped me get to that point? Because that was growth, not being selfish. Not saying I don't need to talk about things, because I do. I don't read, so I'm wondering, how did that growth occur?
Well,
maybe
I'm just gonna say this because he's divine intervention, and because he's married to Valerie Renee Mason Chase, okay, who talks and talks and talks and talks. I believe in constant, ongoing, open communication. And some things that you say, I challenge you on it.
Yeah.
And some things I say, you challenge me. Because I believe that we are supposed to do that as each other's spouse. I'm supposed to do that from a biblical perspective. The Bible characterizes me as your helpmate. And helping you to grow into what I believe you are called to be and do as a husband, as a man, as a father, I believe that's part of my role in your life.
Here, I'm hearing something else.
Yeah.
It became easier for whatever growth to happen when I stopped feeling like you were. I had to thought you were just looking to help me, better me. You were offering suggestions, not being angry, because I always thought you were just being angry or just being a pain. And I fought against that. I wasn't, I was shut down. I only saw it and heard it from my point of view.
True.
Once I realized this is for the betterment of us, for me, I became more open to hearing you.
But you got to also remember, you became more open when you stopped cheating.
Okay, well,
you did. You became a lot more open. Because then you can't be open when you are over there,
scheming and whatnot. Try to remember this.
You're divided.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so naturally, you're going to fight against what your wife is trying to share with you in terms of being better, in terms of growing and all that. So yeah, when the infidelity stopped, you became a lot more agreeable, a lot more open, a lot more teachable. Although you still struggle with that, but yeah.
That's why you called me a narcissist the other day.
I did call you. No. I said you were on the narcissistic spectrum.
Oh, I see.
That's what I said. Okay. Now there's a spectrum. The spectrum of narcissism.
But what did you say? Okay, I'm on the spectrum.
Right.
But I have confrontational tendencies.
Yeah, but that's not connected to the narcissism. Okay. That's just connected to just you being Frank Chase and you being confrontational out in these streets.
Oh Lord.
And thank God you are not that anymore. Okay. I had promised we would finish earlier, but we're already 10 minutes over what I said.
15 minutes over. You said
almost. But you've been engaging in conversation.
Okay. Lost track of time.
You've been doing all that. So yeah. So honesty versus transparency, contentment versus settling. I hope that there was something said or shared tonight that you found helpful in terms of understanding the difference between the two and the impact that each can have on your relationship, your marriage, or whatever. So again, I want to thank you all for being here on this evening. We won't be here next Sunday because next Sunday's Easter Sunday, and we have an Eli's birthday party as well. So we won't be here next Sunday, but the Sunday after. And I have a new special guest on next Sunday. We're going to be talking about limerence. You might say, Val, what's limerence?
Well, I'm saying, what's limerence?
Well, tune in and find out. We're going to be talking all about limerence, what it is and what it's not, and how to navigate through it. So again, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate you. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Marriage Beyond the Breach. Marriage Beyond the Breach, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. I love you guys. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.